What's going on, everybody? It's Davey from the 80s, and you are now entering the Cinema Chop Shop. So park your ass right there. And while you're there, don't forget to hit the like, the share, and the subscribe button. Also, if you check the link below, you see a Patreon account. You click it, you can become a member. All you got to do is try, recommend movies and music and trailers for me to react to. Now, with that being said, we are here today with a nice little independent movie review of a movie produced, I think it's distributed or produced by Neon, and it is called In the Earth, right? So I had to think about it for a second. So I just finished it. Shout out to the homie Code from Jody's Corner for hooking your boy up because I was not trying to pay to watch this, especially with the very mixed reviews that I've seen about this. Now I understand that usually when companies come out and they put out these type of movies, these type of horror movies, and what I mean by these type of horror movies, I mean very artsy horror. When companies come out and put these movies out, they're usually very hit or miss, right? So my ceiling for this movie was hopefully as good as Hereditary, and basically my basement or bottom level would be probably like Midsommar, right? So if anything less than that, you in a witch category, and that's a movie that I did not like. Now, I was really worried about this movie because I hoped that it wasn't going to be one of those very quiet movies, one of those like the whole scenery is setting the ambiance, and I didn't want scenic horror. I don't want scenic horror. I wanted like literal, like, okay, something terrifying, And I mean, it wasn't quiet and it wasn't the horror mood, but I mean, there's a lot to talk about here. So actually, well, whatever. So the general idea of this movie is this: there's some scientists that I guess the world is going through some sort of pandemic. Wow, very big surprise, right? The world is going through some sort of pandemic, and there's some sort of disease. And what's going on is that I guess they're trying to find a cure. So this doctor went in the woods, like a site in the woods, and he's trying to find his ex lover, and he's trying to locate her in order to, I guess rekindle some shit. It's not really. He says he wants to work on this project and things like that, but the girl being his ex, he might want to rekindle some shit, right? So, long story short, he ends up getting guided by a girl named, I believe her name was Alma, and they're going in the woods in order to find this scientist who's his ex lover, and they ain't heard from this broad in like years, right? It's been months. She's literally lost contact with the main base, and what ends up happening is that they come across this idea or this story or this myth about the woods that talks about like this ancient deity or something, right? So automatically, once I got to this part, I'm like, yo, this is like Midsummer shit, right? And so what ends up happening is they go into the woods and then they're ambushed, and then they run across this guy. I believe his name is Zach, and he offers them help, but you know, no random motherfucker that you find in the woods is going to actually be there to genuinely help you, right? So what ends up happening, my boy ends up double crossing them, and then this whole movie is just revolving around him and the ex lover lady, their obsession with this deity in the woods, right? So, I mean, that's generally the idea. That's the basic general idea of the movie. There's not really much of a twist. There's not really much of like character development. Well, nah, there's not really character development. It's just a movie from one point to another. So the things that this movie did that was really good was that it did set the mood. The mood was really good. I mean, you had like the misty scene. There's a scene that involves mist and fog, and it honestly sets the mood. And they do a really good job at explaining why this mist is coming in, right? The last thing you want to do is be like, yo, so like all of a sudden, like a big ass cloud of mist just rolled in and there's no logical explanation for it. But this movie actually does a good job at giving you a logical explanation for it. This movie feels like a straight up acid trip, bro. Like you feel like, I don't know, like you're on some sort of hallucinogenic drug. And like it's very if you have epilepsy or anything like that, I would recommend not watching this movie because, or you're very sensitive to like strobing light effects or maybe like really high pitched sounds. I would definitely stay away from this movie because this movie has a lot of that, and a lot of those things were used in order to set mood, in order to set the stage, right? Um, there is a not I won't say it's a lot of gore, but it's a small amount of gore, and what is done in my opinion, is done tastefully. They don't pan away. They let you see everything, and I feel like the prosthetics and the special effects were done very well for the few scenes that we did have the gore in. Score does a really good job at carrying the movie along. I mean, it's not really anything where it needs to be intense. So it's just one of those background noises that complements the movie, but doesn't do anything to actually amplify scenes and things, right? Um, the guy that plays Zach, I believe Zach is his name. Yeah, the guy that plays Zach does a really good job. He comes off as very deranged, is the easiest way to put it. He comes off as very deranged, and basically the essence of his character, I feel like comes through. He really embodies that shit to the T. The main actor guy, I forgot his name. That should slip in my mind. Let me see what's his dude name. His name is Martin. I mean, there's not really anything to Martin and Alma, right? Like, you're watching it as two people. I'm not gonna lie, for like a cool minute, I was low key kind of confused about the ending. Like, I was watching the ending of the movie, and I kind of was like, so was that shit like a dream, or like, did that shit really happen? Are y'all still high? Like, what's going on here? Like, like it's not. There's no really definitive ending where I feel like it's like, okay, it gives you the real answer. Now, of course, after sitting there pondering on it for a second, I guess I can develop a reasonable answer for this, but I mean, at the end of the day, it's like, it's not really like the most extravagant ending, in my opinion, right? Um, Overall, I mean, this movie's like, if you really like artsy horror, I would recommend this movie to you. Go watch it, have fun with it. It's just something, it's not something I would tell you like, oh, you need to run out and purchase, or oh, you need to go watch it right now. The one thing I can't stand is when movies are advertised as like this year's biggest thing, and it's done a lot with horror movies, bro. Like I can't stand when they're like, "Yo, this is the movie that is terrifying, and it's terrifying audiences all over the globe." And you're just like, really? Or they'll be like, say some shit like, "Oh, this is a movie that competes with The Exorcist," or there hasn't been some shit like this seen since the 1980s, and you're just like, "Come on, bro, like, miss me with that bullshit." But overall, it's an okay watch. It's not something that honestly, if you're not in the mood for this type of movie, you're going to find yourself looking for other things to do. This is a movie that you will probably have to commit to and really watch, because if you don't, you will find yourself looking at your phone. You'll find yourself spacing out. You'll find yourself like not focusing and paying attention, because this movie doesn't have a lot of things, in my opinion, to really grab your attention. It's an okay story. It's not something that I've never heard before. I mean, me personally, I probably would have preferred a manifestation of this, I guess, forest deity, something that we can physically see, because we could be like, oh shit, that shit really, like, if you watch The Witch, right? And the whole time you're thinking this fucking girl is crazy. And all of a sudden the fucking goat manifests into a fucking person, and you're just like, oh shit. That was probably like the only good part about The Witch, was when fucking, what's that fool's name? Billy, what's that fucking dude? Black Phillip. When Black Phillip turned into a fucking devil, bro, that was probably like the best part about The Witch. I was hoping that something similar would happen in this movie, maybe like a physical manifestation of the forest deity, but it never happened. Like I said, overall, the movie is okay. And right now, I'm going to go ahead and go into the grading system. So here on the Cinema Chop Shop, what we do is we grade movies in 3 different ways. You heard it, 3. And one of them is you get bodied and sent to the bowels of hell, meaning your movie was trash. Or you get spared and sent to the gates of heaven, which means your movie was fucking fantastic. Or just good enough to get by the medium mark. And then we have the big fat meh. I mean, you guys know what the hell meh means. It means like you're just mid range, mid grade. You ain't all that great, mediocre at best. Those kind of things. So I'm going to have to give this movie a big fat meh.
Not quite my tempo.
Not impressed.
But it can be better.
Mediocre.
Meh.
But the TV gave me the impression that...
We said meh. M-E-H. Meh.
Yeah, you heard it, folks. This movie's very meh. It's nothing that's extraordinary, eye-catching, cultivating. It's nothing that's going to just drag me to the movie theater. I'm low-key kind of glad I didn't pay to see this. although it is, in my opinion, better than Midsommar, it is still not something where I would say would be like good enough to just like for me to just rant and rave about, you know? So that's my review for In the Earth. Let me know if you agree. Let me know if you disagree, whatever the case may be. Drop it in the comment section down below. And you are now exiting the Cinema Chop Shop, and I hope you guys are having a fantastic day. Adios, homies.